Overwhelm can cause us to freeze. And if you freeze, you're going to end up taking that default treatment for your birth, which you do not want, no matter where you're giving birth, because the default is a machine. And that machine will treat you as a number, not as the beautiful woman that you are, who is a child of God and who is about to bring forth precious life into this world. Pregnancy seems long in those hard days, but it's over in the blink of an eye, and you do not have time to waste on the analysis paralysis. You'll blink and you'll be term, and all of a sudden you'll realize that, oops, I haven't made any of the decisions I need to make. So you've got to get moving. You've got to get on a roll. And today we're going to learn how to make some decisions to get this train a-moving. So let's go.
Are you a Christian woman yearning for a beautiful, joyful pregnancy and birth with a focus on God, not medical tests? Are you worried the birth you want isn't possible and you're tired of being treated like an accident waiting to happen? Hey mama, I'm Lori, host of Your Birth God's Way. I'm a certified nurse-midwife now, but I wasn't always. After working for nearly 20 years in the broken maternity system, I too was in your shoes wondering how I could have the birth I wanted and that I felt God meant for me to have. I found a secret that has actually been known since the beginning of time. God's way is the best way. Spoiler alert, God made us and our babies, and He knows us best. He designed us perfectly for pregnancy, birth, and nourishing our babies after birth, if we work with His design and not against it. In this podcast, you'll learn how to be healthy and have joy during this time of life that will be over before you know it. So if you're ready to reclaim your birth and your babies for His glory, go turn on a few episodes of Bluey for that little one on your hip so you can put the focus back on you for a few minutes with me.
My best friend this week is Birth with Liv. Back on February the 10th, she left me this review, and I appreciate her so much for taking the time to do it. If you haven't already, please hit pause real quick. Just hop over there into Apple Podcasts and leave me a quick review. It is one of the best ways that you can help me grow by reaching more mamas just like you. Birth with Liv said, I just found the show through Dr. Stu's interviews, but have already binged many other episodes. Lori is a breath of fresh air in the birth space, and her ability to perfectly entwine evidence-based information and biblical truth is unmatched. Can't wait to listen to every episode and watch her show grow. Thank you, Birth with Liv. I am humbled by your review. I'm guessing by your name that you're somewhere in the birth world. So while my show is mainly targeted at Christian women who aren't in the birth world, who are trying to learn this world, it is humbling when fellow nurses, doulas, midwives, whatever you may be in this birth world, it's humbling to know that I'm helping you and that you see kind of how I'm trying to do this different. Because yeah, there's tons of shows out there about birth. There's tons of shows about natural birth. There's all kinds of information out there, but there's not really many people who are calling nature God, because God is nature. This whole thing that, nature's perfect design and nature made us to do this. No, God made us to do this. And I think that so many mamas need that, those two worlds join back together. And I'm just humbled to be one of the few who's doing that. And I thank you, Birth with Liv, for sharing those words with me, because they are so encouraging and they put gas in my tank to keep on going. I hear from you mamas a lot, wanting help in making your decisions. And I am happy to help you out. That's what I'm here for. I'm honored that you would include me in your birth process. But here's the thing. So many of you seem paralyzed. And I know there's just so much to sort through. What's right? What's best? Where does God fit into this whole picture? I get all that. But let me first say, God is first. That first place, what's first, what's best? God is first. When we put Him outright, just say, God is going to be the first in my birth process, so many other things are going to fall into place. So when you put Him first, outright, without question, it'll be amazing how many other things seem to sort themselves out. However, in this world, there's just so much thrown at you that's not from Him. It's sometimes really hard to sort through it all. And sometimes when we're having to go against the grain while while sorting through these options, it's easy to just do nothing because you kind of feel like you don't know what to do. And so you get frozen and you get paralyzed as you're trying to analyze all the different things that are being thrown your way. Maybe you lack confidence that what you're doing is right. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more at the end. So make sure you hang in there with me because you really need to be confident in your decisions. You really need to know that you're doing the right thing. But at the end of the day, mama, you're going to have to get moving. You've got to get moving and you got to make some decisions. But guess what? If you're waiting for perfection, if you're waiting for everything to just fall into place exactly as you dreamed it would, you'll always be waiting. Now, I'm not telling you to settle by any stretch. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that you need to work hard to get the best for your birth that you deserve, to get everything that you deserve in your birth, while recognizing that sometimes things come along that aren't perfect, that aren't part of normal, and that's okay. You're going to learn ways to deal with those things as well. So if that one thing doesn't work out, you just keep looking though. You keep looking for the next right thing and you keep moving. You don't get frozen because perfect isn't a thing. It doesn't exist. But guess what? Perfect for you exists. Think about your husband. The perfect husband doesn't exist. I remember way long before I was married, seeing that picture, it said like waiting for the perfect man. And it was like a skeleton thrown over a park bench or something. You're going to be waiting forever if you're waiting for perfect. It's just not a thing. Okay. It doesn't exist, but perfect for you exists just like the perfect husband, hopefully is the one that you found. And hopefully perfect for you exists in that world. And perfect for you can exist in the birth world. It may not be perfect on paper. It may not be someone else's perfect, but it can be perfect for you. You know who didn't wait for perfection to bring the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords into the world? You guessed it, Mary. She gave birth to our Lord in a stable with animals around and laid him wrapped in swaddling clothes in a manger. There wasn't anything glamorous or royal about his birth. It was far from perfect. But she trusted God from day one, from the day she found out she was going to have Jesus. And he worked it all out in a way that seemed pretty stinky to the world. And yet it was perfect for him. It was a perfect part of his story. So I'm going to give you 3 ways today to get moving and not get stuck. We don't want to get stuck in the analysis paralysis. We've got to get moving. We cannot steer this car if we don't get it moving. Okay, so let's look at 3 ways to get moving. Actually, let me change that just a little bit. It's not going to be 3 ways to get moving and not get stuck, but 3 tips to make sure that you don't get stuck. That's really a better way to kind of phrase what you're going to get today. First, I want you to realize that I am not your hero. Not that I think any of you think that, but in case any of you are out there are thinking, man, Lori has got it together. I wish I had her in my back pocket. If there's any of you who have thought that, I hope you haven't. But if you have, I want you to recognize I'm not your hero, but I am your guide. I'm here to help guide you, to give you the guidance that you need to navigate this world from a Christian perspective. You know, I can't give birth for you. I can't hold you up to make these decisions. I can simply teach you and guide you so that you can be your own hero as you look to God for your strength and for your sustenance, for your wisdom, for everything that you need. You know your situation best. Your finances are yours. The decisions to be made, those are yours. Your priorities, they're all yours. We all have different priorities, different decisions, different financial situations. At the end of the day, you're the one that has to make these decisions. You have to decide, are you willing to cut and sacrifice to get the birth you're dreaming of? Or are you willing to settle because it hurts too bad to give up the money or the relationships that it might cost you? You may have to decide what's best for you, what's right for you in these decisions, what's okay to give up. You have to decide if it's worth it to you to give these things up. And you have to decide what you want to keep and what you want to give up to have that birth that you want. And then you actually have to act. You can't just make the decision on paper. You have to act accordingly. You have to live it out. Do you want it bad enough or don't you? It doesn't mean that it's automatically going to work out the way that you want it to, the way that you've laid it out and planned it. That's not what that means. But I'll tell you that you certainly can increase your odds of having what you've always dreamed of by surrounding yourself with the people and the environment to make it possible, with the right people and the right environment. There are some environments that are just not conducive to what you want. And so you're going to have to make some sacrifices to get yourself in the place and in the environment where you can have the birth that you're wanting. But bottom line, as your guide, I am sharing with you week by week a ton of information that can help you to make these decisions. And inside of our community and inside of my course, there's even more information. I mean, it is everything that you could possibly need to know. But the question is, what are you doing with it? And we're going to talk a little bit more about that course at the end. I want you to understand what's offered there. So if it's something that you need, it's there for you. And I think some of you maybe don't even realize what's available. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more at the end. But I just need you to think about the fact that if let's say you go to Lowe's. Let's say you go to Lowe's and you buy tools. But the tools that you buy maybe to help you build a house, or like my husband built a tree house last year. If he bought the tools and he just sat them on a shelf somewhere and never took them out of the box, are they going to do him any good? It's not going to make his job easier. He's going to be just like he was to start with. However, if he takes those tools out that he got for himself to make the job easier, the job is going to be easier. And you have the tools to know what you need to know to be prepared, to be mentally prepared, spiritually prepared, and physically prepared to have the birth that God intended you to have. But you got to get the tools out and use them. Okay? So the first thing is to get those tools, get the guidance from me and from the other sources that you listen to, but then put them to use. Don't let them sit on the shelf. That's thing one. Second, I want you to realize that there's going to be speed bumps. Okay? There will be speed bumps. I can guarantee you that with almost 100% accuracy. I just know it's coming. And there's a few reasons for that. For one, you know that verse in the Bible in James that says, if you resist the devil, he will flee from you? You know that one? That's true in life, and it's true in birth. Now, I'm not saying that Satan's the one that's making your birth so hard. It's not what I'm saying, but maybe. I can't declare that. I don't see the spiritual world. But I'll say that in birth and in life, you often have to take steps to prove how dedicated you are. Because, see, when the devil sees that you are sold out for God and that you are living according to his word, and that anytime you hit a speed bump in life, that you maybe even recite God's word to him, just like Jesus did when he was tempted in the wilderness, he eventually gets tired of it because he sees that he's not winning with you and he moves on to an easier target. And sometimes that's the case in birth too. It shouldn't be, but it is. It's almost like a testing ground to see if you really mean it. Are you really in it for this? Are you really going to do this? Do you really even care? You may be dreaming of a natural birth, but maybe your provider or your family don't really think you're sold out. They expect that you're going to fail. So you need to expect that you're going to be tested. Things are going to come your way, and it's going to be a test to see, are you going to get thrown off track or are you going to stay on track? When they start trying to scare you, they're going to start saying things like, oh no, you're going to have a big baby. Are you going to waver and fall into the traps of multiple ultrasounds and probably an induction and maybe even a C-section, all because of fear? When they start trying to scare you into thinking your placenta is just going to quit working on some arbitrary date on a calendar, are you going to fall into that trap? Or are you going to be prepared and tell them, no, I trust my God. He made this organ for my baby to keep my baby alive, and it's going to work as long as he designed it to work. Which side are you going to be on? I don't care how normal your situation is, because in this medicalized world, they don't believe that there is such a thing as normal. So you may be normal. There may not be anything at all wrong with you or your pregnancy, because pregnancy and having babies is a normal function of life. But that medicalized maternity world, they don't think you're normal. And there is a good chance that they're going to take any opportunity they have to scare you. Something will come along to test you. And guess what? It might not even be real. It might not even be a real thing. It may be a function of their fear. In fact, there's a good chance that they're scaring you even if something doesn't exist, because whatever the thing is on their long list of what if this, what if that. The system is good at scaring you, and they will try to get you to fall in ranks with the same old scare tactics, because they know that it works for most moms, because they know your heart. They know you are scared to death to be the reason that something bad happens to your baby. They know that, and they play on that, because they also know that these things really almost never happen. And if they're getting down to really deep, they know that a lot of what does happen is caused. But none of that matters at the end of the day if they can push you into doing what they want you to do, to fall into their line of thinking, to make it easier on them. Because let me tell you, mama, it's not about you. It's about pleasing their agenda. Okay? And so very often they are going to try to scare you into conforming to what they want. But if you are prepared with the tools and the information, you will ensure that you're not going to be thrown off by lies, because you will see through them. You'll know what's real and you'll know what isn't when you prepare and you put your faith in your God who made you to do this. You know, speed bumps, they may be real or they may be fear tactics. You've got to learn how to distinguish between them. And we're going to talk about that again a little bit later. The last thing I want to tell you as a tip to make sure that you are not getting paralyzed by analyzing everything. I've said that so many times, I'm getting stumbled on it. I apologize. But I want you to realize that you actually don't have to tell anybody but your spouse what you're doing, if that's what's causing your delay. If that's what's causing you to get paralyzed with fear or get stuck in moving forward because you're afraid of what somebody's going to think or say, you actually don't owe them anything. And I mean that. Even if it's your mama, even if it's your mother-in-law, even if it's your best friend, you owe nothing to anyone but your husband and your baby, and of course your God. If your family or your friends are the cause of your paralysis because you're scared that you're going to make a decision that's going to rub them the wrong way, then you need to find a way to push them to the sides until your baby comes. You cannot afford to waste time catering to those who really have no role in the birth of your baby. You might just need to circle the wagons in your little family bubble and keep your decisions close to the chest and keep everybody else at arm's distance. And you don't have to tell them anything. That way you don't have to deal with their criticism, whether it be on the front end or the back end. You don't have to deal with them telling you how dangerous you are or how stupid you are or whatever words they want to use. So you're keeping all that stress out and all that anxiety out on the front end. And then you also don't have to tell them if it ends up not working out. Let's say you end up transferring to the hospital. They don't even have to know it started as a home birth. You've saved yourself the angst. You've saved yourself the criticism and just the mouthing that some people like to do. If it doesn't end up working the way you wanted to, they never had to know. But guess what? If it goes beautifully, like it probably will, then you can tell them after the fact all about it. You can tell them what an amazing experience that it was to have your baby naturally, undisturbed, surrounded by love and warmth and quiet and no chaos, with God at the center of the whole thing. You'll get to tell them about that after, when it's too late for them to criticize because it's over, right? You can show them that this is a viable option, and you never know what conversations that might bring along after the fact. Now, if you're comfortable telling people, go for it. But if you're really worried about what people think and that's what's causing you to get frozen, I just recommend you don't tell anybody anything. Just tell them you're having a baby. You don't owe them anything. Now, each week at the end of the show, I mention briefly about the course that I have available and about the Midwife and Me Power Hour. I kind of throw it out there. And I tend to assume that you already know what's in that offer and what's out there for you, but I haven't done a great job lately of telling you really what's all in that course. I tell you everything under the sun, but maybe you're thinking, yeah, right, there's no way that's possible, okay? So it's coming to my attention that I haven't spelled that out very well for you. So I want to spend a few minutes here today just kind of going through what's in each module of the course so you can know what all is included, so you can see all that you're going to learn when you take this course. It isn't fair for so many of you to be going through pregnancy, trying to piece all these things together and find the information that you need when you could have everything you need for preparation right in your hands today. And it's actually there. You just may not realize it. And I apologize I haven't told you more each episode so that you understood it. So today I'm going to make up for that. We're going to talk about it for a minute, okay? So first of all, Module 1 of the Your Birth God's Way online Christian childbirth education course. First, we go through an introduction, just telling you more about me because some of you may not really know who I am or why I'm here. So we go into that, but then I really go into a lot of goals and expectations because so much of learning and so much of preparing is going to be goal-based. If you just kind of float through, you're not going to have the same results, as good a results as if you set a goal, set a target, and shoot for it. You've heard the phrase, if you aim for nothing, you'll hit it every time. That's true. I want you to aim for something, and we talk very specifically about what we're aiming for. We also go through a lot of scripture and really start to get ourselves in the right mindset to go on this journey through the course together. And that leads into Module 2, which, by the way, the first module is called Making and Keeping the Main Thing the Main Thing. And the main thing, of course, is God. Keeping Him at the forefront, keeping Him as our guide, our main guide, okay? Module 2 is working with God's design to stay low risk, okay? What does low risk even mean? I don't even fully know because in this world, it seems like they want to make everybody high risk. But we want to keep you as low risk as possible because that's the way that you're going to get to have the birth that you want to have. You have to stay, quote, low risk. And so we go through lots and lots and lots of ways to keep you there. Like in a big, big focus of Module 2 is nutrition. We go hard into nutrition. We go deep. We talk about all the different nutrients that you need, how you need to get them. We talk about the brewer diet. You may have heard of that before as a mechanism to prevent preeclampsia. We go into that very deeply. We talk about mechanisms of labor, how the labor process works. We talk about exercises that you can do throughout pregnancy to keep your body not in shape, that's not the right word, but to prepare it to be ready for the birthing process. And in Module 2, we talk a little bit about the discomforts of pregnancy, common discomforts and natural ways to deal with them so that you don't dive headlong into taking medications all through your pregnancy to deal with all the things that are really normal. So that's the focus of Module 2. Module 3 is planning your birth God's way. So in Module 3, we go into dreaming big. We dream about what is that perfect birth? What is it that we're going to want? We go through some different steps for how to dream. And I know that sounds weird, but for how to think through all the things that need to be there. We talk about how to choose your location, how to choose your birth attendant, how to choose whether you're going to have a doula. We talk about, and then after that, we talk about all of those interventions you've heard about, all of those unnecessary and sometimes necessary interventions, and we go through what they are, when they're needed, when they're not, so that you can decide as they come your way whether you're going to consent to them or not, okay? And then the last part of that module is really honing in on informed consent, what that means, what it looks like, and how to make sure that you're getting it, okay? Then Module 4 is called Almost Time, Third Trimester Prep, okay? That one is exactly what it sounds like. You're in your third trimester, which is around 28 weeks through the end, And we're going through all the testing that they offer you, what it means and whether you need it and how to decide. We go through how labor works so that you will know what to expect, the phases of labor, the stages of labor, kind of how it tends to come on, how it tends to grow and build, how long it may take. We go through all of those things. And we also talk about induction, how to weed your way through whether an induction is needed or not. And of course, by now you know that I believe that most inductions are not needed. Occasionally they are, but we go through those things. We go through whether it's needed, and then if it is needed, some ways naturally to try to go about doing that so that you can stay away from those medications that bring so many negative side effects. Okay, Module 5, we start talking about preparing for your baby's birthday. Okay, and what I mean by that, how that's different from the third trimester prep. Third trimester is really everything leading up to labor. Module 5, we're starting to talk about how we're going to deal with labor. Okay, we're not talking about actual labor itself. We're talking about actual birth itself. We're talking about things like pain management. How are we going to deal with the contractions or the waves, whatever you want to call them? How are we going to work through those? What are the things that are available to help you work through those? What are some different techniques to work through those? We're going to talk about that. We talk about positioning, ways to position your body to help the baby come down and to help you work with your body. Again, work with God's design as labor progresses. This particular module, we talk to dads. We have a section where we really talk to dad about what he can do and for what he can expect. And then we go into some affirmations. And these affirmations are very God-centered. They're not woo-woo, foo-foo kind of stuff that you hear sometimes on the internet. So I don't want you to get caught up in that word affirmations. Affirmations are just things that you say to yourself that are positive to get your mind right. And so we go through affirmations and we go through an actual relaxation together. Okay, we go through a period where you completely learn how to start shutting your brain off, kind of like you see in the hypno classes out there, but without any kind of negative spiritual stuff, because some of those things I know many of you as Christians are very uncomfortable with, and I am as well. This is all about focusing on God and focusing on what your body is made to do, focusing on relaxing through the process. And I talk you through a relaxation exercise that you can do leading up to labor. I also provide you the audio for that, so you can use it separate from the course. You can watch it and go through it on the course itself, and then later you can have it downloaded to your phone to use during labor, or maybe as you exercise from day to day and you're away from your computer, you can listen to it there. Okay, so I provide that to you in Module 5. Module 6 is game day. I called it game day, a throwback to my old ball playing days. Game day is baby is coming. This is baby's birthday, or maybe, if it's after midnight, maybe tomorrow's baby's birthday, but we are in labor. It is time, and there is no more doubt. Okay. And in this module, we talk about pushing. We talk again about positioning specific to delivery time. We talk about episiotomies, tearing, what that means, how to manage it if it happens, how to try to prevent it. And actually, I left this out back in Module 2. We talk about perineal stretching, which is one mechanism you can do, one practice you can do to try to reduce the risk of tearing. We also talk about the newborn procedures that happen immediately after birth. Not all newborn procedures. That'll come in, I think, week 7 or Module 7. We'll talk about that in a second. But I'm talking about the ones that happen immediately after birth. We talk about all of those things, whether they're needed, and if they are, when they are, that kind of thing. And we also look at C-section actual real reasons, so that you don't get manipulated into an unnecessary C-section. We talk about what reasons are actual emergencies and which ones aren't, so you can make a good decision should you be presented with them saying they think you need a C-section. Okay, that's Module 6. Module 7 is caring for your blessing and you. So your baby's here now, okay? Your baby has arrived. And by the way, in Module 6, we also go through a labor relaxation, another relaxation track that you can use during labor. So you'll get 2 relaxation tracks to take with you from the course that I created, all focused on God. Okay, all focused on the natural processes, the fact that you are made for this and that God designed you for this. And then in Module 7, we go to caring for your blessing in you. The first part, I think it's the first part, I can't remember if I did it first or second, is postpartum care, taking care of your body now that your baby's out and we're transitioning back to being not pregnant. We're going to look at all the different things that are involved there to take good care of yourself. We're also going to look at newborn care. So this is beyond those first few moments right after birth, but looking at how to take care of your baby in those first weeks and months after birth. We're going to talk about choosing your newborn's provider, doctor, nurse practitioner, whatever you decide to choose. And we're going to talk about all the newborn screenings that they are going to offer and what to do so that you can decide whether you want them or not, what they're for, whether they're needed, that kind of thing, and then give you the information to make the decision yourself. As we gave this course live, I learned that I had overloaded many of the courses, and so I ended up actually pulling this last section that ends up being Module 8 out of, I think I had it in Module 7, but it was just too much stuff. So I made an entire module at the end in Module 8 that's all about feeding your baby God's way. It's an entire module just about breastfeeding, okay? And it is how to get started, how to continue, positioning, techniques, what to do on that day one in those golden hours, those first feedings, how to know if your baby's getting enough, how not to get manipulated into thinking your baby's not getting enough if he actually is. All of those kind of things, anything you can think of about breastfeeding, we cover in Module 8, okay? So those are the basic modules, but there's more than that, okay? On top of all of that that's in the course, there is now a live Q&A session that you'll get to have with me each month where you can present whatever questions that you have. If there is something about your situation that maybe isn't covered in the modules, I mean, really the modules cover pretty much everything, but there's an opportunity for you to meet with me live and ask your questions. There's also going to be a module that is just the questions and answers from when we conducted the course live, all of the questions that those mamas had, because you'll probably have some of those questions. But then on top of that, again, if your question didn't get answered, you'll have an opportunity to ask me live each month in a live Q&A. Right now, all those questions and answers, by the way, are at the end of the modules, and you can go through those as you're going through the modules. So I'm trying to remember, they talked, like one thing that stands out, they wanted to know more about placenta encapsulation. So there's a section in one of the modules about that. But anything that you're wanting to learn about that you didn't hear in the course, I cover it. I will cover it when you ask your questions in the live Q&A. So I just want you to realize that this course really does prepare you top to bottom. You get everything that you need walking away to be ready for your birth, to be ready to have the best pregnancy you can and to rock your birth naturally with God at the center. I truly believe that when you put your focus on Him and you bring Him back into the process, that it completely transforms birth. Just like anything in life, when we leave God out of something that He made, it's never all it could be. But when we bring Him back in and put Him in His rightful place, that birth blossoms into one of the most beautiful things that we as women can experience. Now, I am in the process of working on revamping my entire program that I offer. And when I get it all built, it's going to be so cool and such an amazing resource for you. But when that's ready, the pricing structure is going to be changing. So if you want to grab this offer today at its current low price, you need to go ahead and get it, because it won't be much longer before there's going to be an entire transformation. Now, don't worry. If you jump in now, you're gonna be a part of that transformation. So you don't have to worry like, oh no, I'm going to get this and something better's coming. No, it's not that at all. It's all going to kind of grow into something together. But for right now, if you're trying to get the best deal, you're going to want to go ahead and grab this at its current price while it's available. I'm working every single day at kind of developing different little aspects that are going to be so exciting and so much fun, and they're going to benefit you so, so much. So be sure, if you're pregnant, it's time for you to jump in. It's time for you to get prepared. So go grab that course today. The link's down in the description. You can get it right now. It's on demand. You can get started today. And guess what? If you're not pregnant yet, Now is the time to learn when there is less stress and less pressure of a timeline. Once you're pregnant, then all of a sudden everything seems like it speeds up. And there's pressure from this decision and that decision. And it's just a little bit harder at that point. But right now, if you're not pregnant, you are in a glorious position to learn what you need to know now when you're free to process it. You've got time to digest all the information and really formulate a great plan for you and for your husband and your baby moving forward. So pregnant, not pregnant, this class is perfect for all Christian mamas. So again, there is a link down in the description right now to go grab that. I hope that you will, and I look forward to seeing you. By the way, we're having a live question and answer session. See, this is posting on the 27th. Our live question and answer for March, I believe I've got it scheduled for March the 7th. So if you jump in right now, you're going to get to meet with me live next week. You'll get an invitation to the Zoom meeting, and you'll be able to get your questions answered pretty much right away. So what are you waiting for? Head down to the description. It's the very first link down there. Click on that. Go get signed up, and I can't wait to see you in our live Q&A next week.
Real quick, if today's episode blessed you in any way, would you head over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a quick 5-star written review? It'll take you less than a minute, but it's the best thank you can give me. And it will help my show to reach more mamas just like you, so we can all find God's best for our families. I'll see you right back here in a few days.